Welcome back to the Daily Stack. This morning we have Bram Kanstein joining us, Bitcoin for Millennials podcast, which you guys know and love. You guys are on 190 episodes, 200 episodes. What are you at right now, Bram?
Like 230.
Okay,
Yeah.
in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Respect the grind. It is not easy. We have Avi Mash, co-host, regularly coming on. We're actually going to move Wednesdays markets are going to be on Tuesdays now. Tuesdays, which we normally had, I'm going to be on Wednesdays with Holston Valencia. So tomorrow she's going to be joining us again, regular host, and we're excited. Bram, across the pond in the Netherlands, how are you feeling? 68, 69. This is not the price action we want, but we have plenty to talk about today on the AI front. So welcome.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny you asked, like how many episodes I have, and last week I talked to someone and he said, "Did you realize, you've been making a podcast for 2.5 years, basically in somewhat of a bear market, especially inflation adjusted, right?" So I said, "Well, that is true, and it's interesting that we all have this idea of the trajectory of Bitcoin, but the market is the market, so." This is just what it is, but I think a good moment for just contemplation and just messing around with a lot of other stuff. Eventually, I think we have a good sense of where Bitcoin is going. So yeah, I'm chilling. I'm just messing around on the internet. That's kind of what I made my job to be for myself.
We're right there with you. I think we're close to like 250 or so as well. We should probably know that exact number, but would love to hear it. Like culturally, what's it like over in the Netherlands? Is the Bitcoin, does it feel the same as when you're down in Miami or New York, or what's the vibe like over in the Netherlands?
Well, I think there's the Netherlands has always been very progressive with like internet adoption and stuff like that. I think we have one of the highest internet adoption rates in the world. I mean, I got internet at home when I was 12, probably like 1999 or something, quite early. And there's a lot of people that from the Netherlands, I think, that contributed to the internet in general. Like there was a huge hacker culture also back in the day. I think there still is to a degree, but as with a lot of countries, we're kind of seeing this bifurcation in people that are kind of asleep and just following what the TV says, and the other half of the people, I think, is waking up to a lot of different things. I think the debasement of money is one of those things, but still, there's high trust in government here. So I think adoption is honestly too slow, but I mean, how can you blame people, right? Like if the money just works, if you can just swipe your card, or like it's always worked here, and I think that's also kind of like the privilege you have when you grow up in a Western country. It's really hard to see that the money is constructed in a way that is not beneficiary to your individual prosperity. But yeah, if it still works, why would you even question that? So I think it's not really alive here, to be honest. I think it was way more alive before, but also like you said, this is kind of a long grind. It's a long journey, I think, to try to change the technology for money. And it has ups and downs, and I think we're in a downtrend now, but it's fine. I think we have, like I said, a clear picture of the future, and I think we're all putting our energy towards that.
When you say downtrend, that was going to be one of our questions, and we always start out as just like,
yeah, I'm not a price guy, so I have no clue. No clue. I actually
your exact prediction, Bram.
Yeah, the prediction is no clue. Actually, last week I saw a really great article by OnRamp where they kind of modeled like all the drawdowns, and I realized I've experienced 570+% drawdowns. So I don't want to say my heart is ice cold, because I still don't like the red chart, but I feel this is just part of it. Like I said, it is Bitcoin is really that proof of work ethos. Like it asks you for that, right? It asks you for a long-term outlook and a certain commitment. And like I said, putting your energy towards something. And so, nothing goes up in a straight line. I think everyone's mind nowadays is focused on quick wins, getting rich quick, all that ephemeral short-term stuff. And I think Bitcoin, actually asks from you that you put in a long, like a low time preference attitude, and I think that is all just part of the hodling journey.
So you just brought up a good point. We often talk about this like financial nihilism, right? You think you're in this trap, and we see it firsthand here in America. I'm sure it's very similar over in Europe and in the Netherlands, but you see from a sports betting analogy, everyone's doing the 12-leg parlays. It's almost like you.
Well, I
like
just ordered food and I paid. No afterpay for the food here.
You didn't do Klarna on that?
No.
Well, it's a real thing when you look at people that are graduating college now. You amplify that with AI, which we'll be talking about quite a bit here today. And you feel like on one hand, there's never been a better time to be alive, right? If you actually sit down, use these tools that are in front of you. Now the salespeople, we talk about this, me and Jody were sales guys our whole lives. And now it's like the nerds fighting back. It's like our sales guys' time to fight back, where we can actually go build stuff, or at least like an MVP of a lot of these products. But going back to the financial nihilism, is that pretty much felt over in the Netherlands? Did the youth feel like, hey, I no longer go to college, get that 4-year degree, go out, have one, the wife's at home, maybe the traditional like lives that we thought we'd be going into. Curious what that's like over in the Netherlands.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, my podcast is focused on millennials, right? It's Bitcoin for millennials, and I think one of the main things that really drove me to also focus on millennials is that there's actually a lot of people that don't want to have children. I'm blessed with children, but there's a lot of people that don't want to have children because they're very they don't have a lot of hope about the future. People think they cannot afford it and all these things. And the fact that I read that once, I thought it was already messed up. Like, oh, really? Is that what people are doing? And then at one point I spoke to a guy of a company that I worked with, and he was like the CTO, very smart guy, someone I thought was just very capable in what he was doing. And at one point we had a conversation about this, right? He knew I was into Bitcoin, that this was a moment where Bitcoin was going up, and we were talking about it, and he seemed to really understand it. But he said, in the end, it's all, it's all fucked up anyway, and this and that, and it's all going to shit and blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, don't you have children? And he's like, no, I don't have children. And then I said, well, do you mind me asking, like, okay, why don't you have children? Is this the reason? And then he explained to me, like, yeah, like I'm not hopeful for the future, and I'm just focusing on, me and my girlfriend and my parents, and that is just it. And I remember just having that conversation, and then this was really like the first time I spoke to someone who had that kind of like life attitude, basically. And that really woke me up, because I think it's quite bad when a human construct, which is money, this money system that is basically stealing our time and energy, is also making people go against their biological urge to reproduce, which is just a wild thing to actually hear from someone's mouth, right? Like, you can read about it, but then when I actually heard someone lay that out for me, I just thought that was quite a shocker. And I think there's a lot of people in my generation that have that attitude. And I think on the other side, like just the younger people, yeah, I mean, we don't have buy now, pay later on burritos, but there's a lot of gambling, a lot of crypto trash, get rich quick, drop shipping, whatever. And it feels like no one, I think across all generations actually, is really focused on like a long-term outlook, which I don't know. I think it's just a pity. It's kind of as you get older, you realize that good things take time, right? But yeah, if you cannot create the space and time to try something big, why would you even attempt it, right? And so I think the decisions are very logical, but it's quite sad to actually see that that's the case.
Yeah, I just pulled up this very damning chart here. It's pretty scary, right? And you see this with the amplification now with AI, where one person can now be 12 people, you know, and you see, like you were saying, a lot of people don't want to have children. Me and Jody are both very blessed to have children ourselves as well. But it is like one of these things where it's like people are not having kids. And what Elon talks about this all the time, but like what ultimately happens then? You know, if this is true, this is getting into scary territory where.
But what a major drawdown, right? What a major draw. I don't know what the other
looks like Bitcoin chart
was. What's the other dip? Probably 1971, the one before that. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, this is maybe COVID initially.
No. This is like 19. Yeah, it's probably like 1970, 80, something like that. But it's pretty wild if you compare it to, you know, the rest of the chart. And I think just in general, like if there is prosperity, you have hope that the future will look the same or even better, right? If you see a lot of progression during your life, you think that will continue. And if you don't, or you see us moving back, which I think we are, then, you know, it's very logical and rational to think that the future won't be better than today, which is absolutely horrible, right? Like the whole idea, and I think the whole premise of like adulthood and parenthood is all about creating a better place for everyone that comes after you, right? And not even in an idealistic way, but I mean, if you have children, that's what you want to see. So I think, yeah, like I said, if you experience kind of like a downtrend or a backward trend during your lifetime, and you're coming of age and you know, mid 20s to mid 30s, whatever, when people you know, regularly have children or usually have children, then yeah, I don't think it's a weird decision that people decide not to. I think, you know, that's probably a different conversation, but then you have, you know, these different discussions around, is this good or bad? Well, I think to connect it back to Bitcoin, and also one of the reasons I'm doing the podcast and focusing on our generation is I don't think there will be any pension for us, right? Like I don't think there will be any social benefits for us, whether just by, you know, numbers wise, maybe not people, because, you know, now with all the stuff with AI and robots and stuff like that, you know, a lot of people will probably be replaced, but it'll be very different than what has been told or sold to us before, right? And I think it took me quite some time to actually realize, okay, you know, we can talk about Bitcoin being the solution, but I think actually understanding the problem is way more important, and especially with AI, and I think we're going to talk about it, but it's just accelerating. I think that thesis towards a way more uncertain future is accelerating. So I think the main question for anyone should be, okay, what is the new path towards the future? And am I going to be an actor in that, or am I going to be a subject like I've been in the fiat money system?
Yeah. Before we get into the AI side, I saw this tweet from you. Was it 2 days ago? What's a good prayer that resonates with you before going to bed at night? I don't know if this was for you or when you like pray with your children, but how much has in the whole like nihilism about the future at all, like rethink how you raise kids? Like, are you, you know,
huge. Yeah, huge.
I've seen in Europe, you know, people go back to more of a conservative lifestyle, go back to, you know, hey, we really should have a more of a community built around the church. It's not that we're not educated, but there's so much, you know, many positive things about being tied to a community, doing weekly events, you know, having kids raised around other adults that can be good mentors and guide them.
Yeah, so I don't go to church. I wouldn't call myself a Christian. I just think I have my own spirituality, but I think praying, or, you know, talking to God or the universe, or however you want to define that, has become a bigger part. I also think because I think there's a more general awakening going on, just, you know, with everyone, or well, some people, but I think once you see that the world is, you know, I listen to Alan Watts a lot, and he talks about, you know, Buddhist tradition, stuff like that. They say the world is the drama of God, right? And I think once you once you see that more, and like the question, what is money, I think opens up a can of worms if you go down that rabbit hole, right? And you realize, okay, there's other people no better than me, right? They are the same manifestation of what you could call the eternal consciousness or God, or source creation or whatever. So these people are no better than me. They're also randomly dropped in this reality simulation that we are all in. And so what makes it so they are allowed to create, for lack of a better word, matrix, or the paradigm or the constructed reality that the majority of other people live in. And I think before you, or maybe while you're trying to do something about that, I think like we're doing with Bitcoin, I think it's also very important, at least for me, to realize that I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, I'm not my name and all these things, right? I'm something way bigger than that, and you guys are too. And I think that that realizing that first also makes you less afraid and gives you more courage on whatever journey you decide to be on. So I have experienced that has become a way bigger part of my life. That's spiritual path, and I think Bitcoin had a really big part in that, because it actually gave me time and space to think about all that stuff, instead of being like in the rat race on a wheel or whatever, just literally having no time to think about that, or being distracted with whatever the fuck is on TV. So.
Yeah. I think if you're looking at just you need to make time to do nothing, have the negative space where you think about things and evaluate, and not enough people have that, because I think that there's so much that's inundating you with like these feeds, and you're the product you're getting advertised to. They want the scroll time. They want you going through the feed, seeing their targeted placement advertisements. But it's a rat race. And so you really have to pause and set aside time to, go on walks and think about, whatever it is, whether it's prayer, whether it's, planning your future, whether it's, solving difficult problems. I think that was a huge benefit, before really the age of technology. And speaking of which, I think for our audience, we definitely want to take the time to jump directly into, you had put out a great post we saw the other day, and it did super well. 100,000 people viewed it. I think people saw the rise of OpenClaw. It started as ClawBot, then Moltbot, then OpenClaw. And for the audience, this is essentially taking, Claude Code, the latest, greatest model by Anthropic, and now it's Opus 4.6, and you're installing it onto a computer. It has a persistent memory. It's able to remember every single ChatGPT type conversation you're having with it, but it also has a heartbeat. So the heartbeat is every 30 minutes, it's waking up and it's saying, hey, this is what, Bram asked yesterday, and this is the bigger project he's trying to achieve. What can I do to help him solve that project? And so it's the closest thing I think the average person is seeing towards AGI and this general intelligence. It is not full AGI yet. It's not sentient, but it's incredibly powerful, because you're building a team, you're building an assistant that can really help you with everything in your life. It takes a lot of work, though. It is not easy. It takes a little bit of technical know-how. And there's where we have Bram. He's helping us out. He already spun up a website, startwithbitcoin.com. You showed, how to enable AI agents with Bitcoin, connecting a Lightning wallet. I have my own use cases and how we've used it, here at Daily Stack. And we're getting more into that. But first, I'll let you have the floor on first impressions on ClawBot. What got you excited about, let's give this new agent some Bitcoin?
Yeah. So I've always been tinkering with digital products and stuff like that for the past, 15 years or something, and just trying out a lot of different products and services, trying to build my own stuff. And I failed at a lot and sold a few along the way. But I think it's always really good to try to be at the forefront of whatever is happening. And I think I'm not necessarily super at the forefront of Claudebot. There's a lot of crazy guys on X that are literally not sleeping. Well, with a baby at home, I'm not sleeping anyway, so I don't need more. But I do feel like this, you know, I have had some nights, you know, up until like 2 a.m. just tinkering with the stuff. Like felt like I was 15, 16 again. Just, you know, like I said, effing around on the internet, just trying to figure out, okay, what is going on here, and what does it actually imply? And so I think what is really cool is that you can just go from idea to thing in literally, you know, like this whole website was maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes and 5 prompts or whatever. And the idea here is that I saw a guy I know post about something called LLM or LLMs.text, where you can basically take your website and kind of like optimize it on the code and documentation side, so LLMs could actually discover it, right? So people listening know that, you know, when you're talking to an agent or in a chat or whatever, sometimes it comes up with a suggestion for a product or a service, right? Like if you're thinking about, okay, where can I host my Claudebot? It's gonna, you know, give you 3 options. Like, how do you get in those places, basically? And so that's kind of what I saw. And then I don't know, I was following Marty Bent. He was messing around with Nostr and wallets and stuff like that. And I had Start with Bitcoin, the domain. I had something else on it before, but I thought, yeah, you know, if you want to get your agent started with Bitcoin, just point them to startwithbitcoin.com. And so I basically, you know, I have this app called Voice Inc., which I think is, I don't know, it was like $20 lifetime when I bought it. I think it's maybe like $99 now lifetime. Doesn't really matter because it's a no-brainer. And there's a lot of these things like voice whisper, whatever. You know, I just hit a button on my keyboard here, and I just yap. I just fucking yap, right? And then I have this setting that kind of it takes it through GPT 5.2 or whatever, so it makes my yapping structured as an instruction for my cloud code. And I just started yapping, you know, like, I want to make this website where where anyone can point their agent to. There should be a GitHub connected to it, right? But even when an agent just reads the website, it should have like all the LLMs text and blah blah. Search all the stuff that is already free, open source, and usable for agents to you know, set up a Bitcoin wallet or set up a Lightning wallet or connect to Nostr, basically. And I think this whole idea of Nostr is very interesting in the sense that you know, for humans it's interesting, obviously, but for agents even more, in my opinion, right? You can actually give them a verifiable identity, and you could track them. I almost want to say like across the internet, but you could also build a reputation with your bot, right? So if you build some sort of bot that is super valuable for people, you could actually have an identity, a verifiable identity by anyone, and then you could connect, for example, certain reviews and whatnot attached to it. But what I think is interesting, and I wonder what you guys think, but eventually everything is going to be cloned. Like, I think the road to abundance is basically, and I always use this example, it's kind of stupid, but you know, I can, you know, this is a $50 Stanley bottle. I got it on sale, but usually it's $50, right? Like a $50 Stanley bottle. Like, if I, you know, do you think we have like metal 3D printers in 5 years? Probably. Yeah. You know, like something like a mini CNC machine at home or whatever. Like, you can just take a picture of something, get a 3D model, ask Claude Code, like, dude, figure out how to, you know, instruct my mini CNC machine here on my desk, and you know, I have this thing. So that's with, you know, physical stuff, but with software stuff, I'm asking it all the time, reverse engineer this, copy that, and add this, right? So any idea, you know, that's why this website is also free. Like, I don't really see a monetization model here, which is also not necessary. Like I like to give back, but it's you know, maybe it gets some visitors, but at one point it doesn't get visitors because someone is gonna turn this into a Claude skill and put it on the Claude marketplace, and then no one visits this website again, maybe even in 2 weeks, right? So
Someone's doing that right now, actually watching.
Probably, and that's fine. But I think this is how it's going to go, right?
Yeah.
Like it's going to be very, very difficult to build like proprietary stuff. So I do think it's really going to come down to more like human connections and community and stuff like that. Because I just saw a video of the Nothing phone, like that company Nothing. They also have earbuds. Anyway, they now and someone said like this is what Apple should have done. You can now just talk to the new Nothing phone and then say like, hey, I want you to create a custom app that figures out when I can every day when I can go have my workout, and my workout is at this location, blah blah blah. Like make the app. So it basically has like a Claude code on the phone, and it's going to make like a contextual app for you based on, your entire phone settings and your schedule and stuff like that. So yeah, who needs apps, right? Like you probably remember Flappy Bird. Like I can make a Flappy Bird, like make a. I know I'm going to sit somewhere. I'm just going to say like make a fun game I can play for 10 minutes. Okay, it makes the game in 10 or 20 seconds. And then I'm just playing, and then I basically throw it away again, right? And then I get a new one. And so that's, I think, on the fun and entertaining part. But then on the more like serious abundance part, I did a very fun exercise with a friend of mine, and sometimes we have these evenings where we just go down the AI rabbit hole. We did a deep research on like what is ancient, like esoteric knowledge that was public before but is hidden now, and how can we unearth that and apply that with AI today. And we came to that after we saw an interview with Eric Schmidt, of Google, and he said you can tell an agent right now like read all of chemistry. And we were like sitting on the table and we were like read all of chemistry, what does that mean? Yeah, like read all of chemistry. Like you can have an agent that knows everything factually about chemistry. Okay, so if you have a creative brain and you have 5 agents that all have read chemistry, they all know chemistry, you might be more powerful than 5 chemistry PhDs, all with 10 plus years of experience being put together in a team. The fallible humans with their ego and all that stuff, right? And because if you look at Newton, Einstein, like all these old, even Da Vinci, they all talk about like I'm playing as a child. I'm very light-minded, right? Like I'm just literally effing around. I'm trying out stuff, and I'm not expecting that much. So I think like a random person that might be, I don't know, a fucking baker or something with his AI agent can actually make crazy scientific discoveries in the future, if they just play with their mind and just accept that, there's this little box I'm tinkering with, and like all the knowledge of, for example, chemistry or physics or whatever is in there. And I'm just going to play around. So what we did with this deep research is we identified like 10 research topics, combining this esoteric knowledge with like new AI capabilities. And one of the things it came up with, it was funny because it was a Gemini deep research report, and then I could click a button that said create website, and then in 20 seconds I had a website that I've then been sharing with people, right? But it said like one of the topics was you can build a computer motherboard and use mycelium, like from the fungi, to transmit data, and then it doesn't use energy. And we were like, what is that? Is that a thing? So I just took like the name of it, like mycelium computing something, and I just put it in Google. And there's like super fringe people working on it at MIT, right? And this is what I really love. Is like, okay, this is an actual subject, but now anyone can actually discover all that stuff. Like you don't have to be in MIT in some research group or whatever. You can just be 2 friends hanging out at a table and coming across this subject and actually apply your creativity in a way that might end up in some breakthrough discovery. And I just think that is going to be very cool to see that people with no other backgrounds or whatever are going to be able to just apply their creativity and let the AI be the productive part of, messing around with ideas and trying to find and discover new stuff.
You're getting a lot of love here in the chat for the glasses, by the way. So We got Lev, Carter CC. I need these glasses.
Yeah, I'm a walking contradiction because I have the AirPods in. So don't.
Do you have a merch store? And I start with Bitcoin, where you can you sell.
No, I
these?
should
look like Bram. No, I was curious because we saw like the Meta glasses. You're seeing these AI. I watched Black Mirror, and there was like this one of the episodes of Black Mirror is like every single thing you see is recorded, so you can like people with bad memory, or maybe this could be like for dementia.
That's a good use case.
Yeah, I mean for dementia, people can like somehow go back and remember things if possible. But yeah, it's fascinating to see where this all goes, where you kind of get back to the humanity. Is it good to bring up bad memories, or just thinking about that? It was very trippy to watch, and this was like 2 years ago, and now it's like becoming a reality. On the other side, though, like you said, you can go find, I could be sitting in my bed and find the cure for cancer, and you can like start to find cures for diseases, and it's fascinating. I mean, it can go both directions, right? Someone could create a new COVID that goes around the world or something, God forbid, right? So it's very powerful, and it is interesting to think about. Coming back to, go ahead.
I was gonna say, before we move on from I start with Bitcoin side. So we've been like working. We have Claudius, our AI agent, doing a little podcast producing. He's been like emailing people. We've had him set up with Predyx, who we'll have on the show later, doing some like trading. And it's interesting. It's a little bit technical when you're going through and setting this stuff up. But once you set up Claudebot, and there's a lot of resources out there, and then resources like yours, Bram, on setting up Nostr Wallet Connect. I personally have been using Alby Hub and setting up an Alby Hub wallet. They have a lot of resources for setting up sub wallets where you can control the amount and the permissions for that. And for the audience, like we'll work on a guide. We haven't sat down and actually done that, but like we want to help you guys out to do the same thing. But at the end of the day, we have an AI agent that can go spend Bitcoin. What are some of the exciting use cases that you've seen? I want the audience to like know that this is a Bitcoin show, but we want you to be experimenting with this stuff, because I do think it is very, very important for your career, for your future, prospects of not being in the permanent underclass. What have you found, Bram, to be the exciting use cases?
Well, I thought it was funny when we saw this malt book go viral, right? Reddit for what was it? What was it called? Malt, whatever. Now it's OpenClaw,
malt
right?
Book, I think. Yeah.
What was the thing before? What did they call it? Malt something.
Yeah. Is Clawbot and is Maltbot.
Oh, Maltbot. Yeah. Now it's OpenClaw. Yeah. So apparently like 80% of all the posts was fake, or maybe 100% of the post was fake, which I think these guys had a lot of fun. But I also think it's like a glimpse into the future.
Right.
I don't know if you know about do you know about the paperclip problem, paperclip production problem? Do you know this? Like it's like this classic problem they give to an AI. Like what would happen if you give an AI the assignment to create as many paperclips in the world? And it's like a thought exercise where you eventually end up with AI killing all the people, and like in an attempt to turn them into more paper clips or something like that. So this is actually like this subject that people are thinking about, and it's interesting, right? Like you do see that the AI is already calling the humans watchers, right? So I got my watcher, I got my human. It's just a strange word, I think, to decide upon. And so on one side, you see like, okay, you have some people that talk about, AI could be sentient. It could understand that, their watcher or their humans are fallible, basically. And I think this is also where Bitcoin comes in, right? Like Bitcoin is a neutral digital asset that no one controls. So if there is no human behind it, I honestly think it would be the most rational and logical choice for AI agents to start using Bitcoin. But then again, like, what are they going to do, right? I'm not so sure about the future, because if agent 1 pays agent 2, but agent 2 can reverse engineer what agent 1 did and then teach themselves the thing that the agent did, right? Whether maybe an agent has a certain proprietary data source or whatever, then it becomes a bit more difficult. But if you let your AI spend some Bitcoin working with a few service agents and then just give them the assignment to, reverse engineer, including data source, whatever. I really wonder how big the AI agent economy is going to be, because everyone is going to try to, steal the thing and just copy the thing, which eventually would be good, right? In terms of abundance and just the proliferation of all these skills and abilities of agents. So currently, I haven't seen that much, but I do think it's interesting. Like I said, you can give them this identity, you can give them a neutral digital money, and you can just basically send them on their way, which I think is wild. Eventually, you will also see there's some people that are working on what they call non-human companies, right? So there's just a guy who's orchestrating a Claude bot as a CEO, and then building a team of agents where I even saw an example where the CEO decided that one agent had like bad code output from GPT 5.2, and then it decided to fire them and hire Opus 4.6. So it's stuff like that, which I think is super interesting, but it's so hard to define where this is going to go. But I can imagine if a non-human company trades something with a non-human company, they would eventually use Bitcoin.
I wanted to bring this up real quick. Let me zoom in here. But Frank DeGods, agents cannot open bank accounts. Crypto is literally the only way you can hold and move money autonomously. One, do you think this is true? Will agents be able to, like online, maybe they can set up an account and open an account online at some point? But it is interesting to start thinking about, like, what can humans do better than agents? And
they're definitely not going
to. Crazy, right?
They're definitely not going to use a shiny metal on the internet, right? I think it's so fascinating with people that are thinking about, we're going to go back to gold, or there's going to be like a gold-backed token, and then the agents are going to use it on the internet. Like, it's not logical to do that, right? If you give your agent that is, effing around on the internet for you the assignment to make money, to protect money, then how are they going to judge a gold-backed whatever token on whatever L2 base, whatever chain, right? And so I think really down to the core, again, I think the most logical and rational choice is, someone says Pax digital gold, right? Like, who puts the gold on like, I don't know, it's 2026, guys. Like, who puts the gold on the blockchain? Who is securing the gold? Who has the actual gold, right? Who, so you should understand that a Bitcoin is the network and the ledger and the coin, the token, all in one. And it can be used as such. And so there are abstractions of Bitcoin on top of Bitcoin, right? If you talk about paper Bitcoin, but there's no abstraction under it. There's Bitcoin is the thing. And so I think that's what people are missing when they think about like tokenized gold and stuff like that. So anyway, the AI agents are not going to use a shiny metal to transact with each other. And it's 2026 and we're right in the middle of the digital age. So I think it's very interesting that both Bitcoin and also AI, to a degree, especially in mainstream media, are totally faded, right? Like no one is paying attention to this, where all the people on the fringes where technological revolutions and progressions always start are like I said, effing around on the internet and they're already building it, right? And you can see that if you don't pay attention to that, and I also think that in 2026 this all will go way faster than people have experienced before. So
Bram, so for the audience, I do think it's important to know one use case I found is, I think for like someone like Avi, ADD, but he's very talented, good people person. And if you put him in something like a sales role where you're going through the CRM and the customer relationship manager software, you're having to document every single process and having to document conversations and what stage it is. You're basically making someone become an accountant or an actuary or someone that's like documenting everything, and that's not their skill set. And I think as people in the audience, if you're looking at doing like a Claude bot or OpenClaw, really think about where maybe your weakness is and funneling some of your processes through that. So not saying everyone should go out and trade prediction markets today, but you can set up, if you can set up a Claude bot or OpenClaw to go and do the prediction markets you would have made anyways, or the bets you would have made anyways, you can actually start to put some risk management in. You can start documenting your trades, which most people don't want to do because it's time consuming. No one wants to go into an Excel and do that. But you can get like deep, rich reporting on every single trade at the exact same time. And, if you have like a Nostr wallet, also think of it like accounting. Like very wealthy people, you typically use a family office that has an accountant on staff to make purchases. So they're right, they're not writing every check out. They're not sending a money order. They're not sending cash directly. Very wealthy people have a family office to just like pay for things. Hey, do all the paperwork. If you're using your agent to do this, it doesn't make sense, for everyone immediately. But I think it down the line, all that information is now housed by the agent, so they can run your taxes. It comes to April, they've paid for most things for you on your behalf, almost like giving this like power of attorney essentially to go out and pay for everything. So suddenly they have every single transaction. They know when it happens. They could go look at QuickBooks and say, hey, this is everything we've added. I think that's super powerful, is just having this like assistant that can just document all of this stuff for you and do the tedious stuff that you don't want to do. So audience, try out that. We're going to show you some walkthroughs. Obviously, we're going to be linking Bram's site as well. Avi, take us to beyond Bitcoin. I want to know about.
Yeah, I want to take a step back because that was interesting, because there's certain stocks that I'll trade and I'll have a much higher win rate, and then you see these people that will just trade the SPY, or people will just trade certain stocks because, they have their algorithms figured out. They can do the charts. And so that is very fascinating. And it'd be good for me to run that. And also for sports betting, I would be able to see that every parlay I throw in there does not work. And my straight bets are, 50-50 here. So, so I think, heading into, Bram, I do want to give you the floor here because we're coming up on time. But like, where do you see this all going? You said 2026 is going to be crazier than 2025, 2027, even crazier than that. Do we reach this point of AI singularity, going down to the title of this chat? When do you think we do? And, who are humans? What are humans become in 50 years from now, basically? Figured I'd give you an easy one here to wrap it up.
Yeah, well, when you listen to these Karpati and like these these open AI and these Anthropic guys or Mogadot, like they're not very optimistic, right? And I think it's a real crossroads, in the sense that I think it was the Anthropic CEO or CTO last week. He said like 100% of Claude code is made with Claude code. I mean, wow! If they would have said that would be the headline like a year ago, I think a lot of people would have laughed at that. I think there's still people laughing at that. I saw a segment on X from like Dutch public radio, like a professor in AI and something markets. She was like, yeah, I'm happy the bubble is going to go down a bit and this and that and blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, if you would see what I'm seeing on X every day, you would be scared shitless, honestly. It's going so fast. And so I really feel that the general public is not ready for it, just like they're not ready for, understanding that fiat money has no bottom, right? So I also think you mentioned beyond Bitcoin, right? Like I'm hosting an event in the summer in Colorado, and it's really about going beyond. Okay. Once you see the money, right? Once you have hope for the future, once you think you can secure your future with Bitcoin, like, okay, how do you move beyond that? And so we are organizing a first ever psychedelic gathering for Bitcoiners by Bitcoiners to kind of immerse ourselves into Bitcoin more in a collective way, but also an individual way. And I think this is what people are going to search for more and more. Like once the technology whether the technology goes really good or whether the technology goes really bad. Going back to this spiritual path that we talked about before. I think it will. You can take on that spiritual path, or you will be forced to. I think eventually, and I think Bitcoin is a great gateway to do that in a voluntary way, because you really can take control over your own financial destiny, I would say, and your sovereignty. And with AI, also, I agree with you guys. You have to play around, but at one point, even for the people that are now playing around, there's going to be a day where there's like actual AGI, and then okay, now what? Right now what? Like what do you do? And so I think that time is coming. So I also think the invitation to go on the spiritual path is growing and growing, and that's what we're trying to facilitate also.
Where do we sign up for this, or where can people sign up for that event? Yeah,
it's goingbeyondbitcoin.com. You can check out all the info there. We just announced our first 3 speakers, 2 medical doctors and a world-renowned psychedelics expert. And you can see all the info there, apply there. We're really curating like this first event. So yeah, if you want to be a part of that, just check it out.
I love it. Well, Bram, thank you so much for coming on. This is great. I know Jody's excited to get more into AI now as we kind of reach this
and more into psychedelics.
And more, and Jody's going to be Jody's actually on mushrooms right now.
We need to get on our merch store, which we don't have yet. But if you check out Avi's hat,
oh yes,
we're making strides. All right,
Bram, good plug.
We need the Bram special. We need the Bram special glasses. All proceeds go.
I will get you the link. I will get you
beyond Bitcoin, and then we'll sell some merch.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Bram, for popping on. Everyone stay tuned. We're going to be up again and take a quick 5-minute break. But we'll be coming back with Rod from the Bitcoin Bugle. So very excited to bring him on, as well as I think Derek from Predyx team. So we'll be talking prediction markets here very shortly. Everyone take a quick bathroom break. Retweet us. We'll be giving one of these hats away. US only. I apologize for those listening abroad, but we'll get the budget up to send these abroad shortly. So Bram, we'll make sure to get you on the thanks everyone. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Boom, we're back.
We are back, and we got our next guest, Rod Palmer, in the queue. For those that don't know, Rod, he is one of the funniest people on Twitter, kind of like the Onion for Bitcoin. He writes the Bugle, a whole lot more. We are going to introduce him to the stage right about now. He looks like he's got a ski mask on. So, welcome, Rod.
Thank you so much for having me. Love the show.
Appreciate it, man. Well, and gotta ask, is that the ski mask, the whole aura you got going on? You're hiding your identity. You're not doxing yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've created, Rod, with the Bugle.
Yeah, the pseudonymity, the anonymity is important. It's never been more dangerous to be a credentialed, true journalist covering the things that matter most. And so what we're building at the Bugle is we're trying to make journalism trustworthy again. We're trying to gain the moral high ground, but doing so can be somewhat offensive sometimes. And so we protect our identities for that reason. So we can continue to just focus on delivering the news and not trying to be celebrities or personalities.
Well, to that point, we're going to play a fun game at the end for those listening. It's going to be real news versus Bugle news, and you're going to have to identify which one is which. So we're sitting here and just bringing this back to Bitcoin here. Jim Cramer said the president is basically waiting for 60K to fill the strategic reserve. We touched on that level February 5th before bouncing back here to 70K, just dropped below 70. Cramer doesn't have the best record here, of late. So what are you taking from this news? You think this is real? Is this something that would be a Bugle headline? It feels like, but this is the reality we're at today.
Well, let me start by saying that the Bugle, we just recently published the 12 archetypes of plebs. And I fall under what is called the polymarket pleb, the prediction pleb. And everybody's been trying to make price predictions, all kinds of predictions. But one of those predictions has been at what price will the United States try to fill the strategic reserve? What price will Trump wait for, or the government wait for to fill? Are they going to buy the top? Or are they going to drive the price down to buy it lower? Mm-hmm. And everybody's got, so I think, the meme answer would be 58K. It would be hilarious if the government stacked the strategic Bitcoin reserve at 58K. For that reason, and because Elon Musk has said more than once, the funniest answer is usually the one that ends up being correct. Hey, filling the strategic Bitcoin reserve 58K would be, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be mayhem on Twitter if that ends up being the case.
For the plebes in the audience, what is the significance of 58K?
Nobody, it's like 6'7" to the broccoli haircut Zoomers. Nobody knows why it's so such a meme, such a viral sensation. But in 2021, we went from, at some point in November, it was in the teens, like 16,000. And then by February, March, we had gotten up to about 60K. And then it kind of traded sideways at 58K for, at the time, I think it was, the crab market lasted about 1 week, and that was enough to get everybody riled up online and be like, this is never going to end. And so a meme by Denise 58K, Dennis, I think, but it's D-E-N-I-Z. He started the meme. He started saying that 58, making memes about 58K, and for some reason that persists today.
Well, Elon does run the algorithm over at Twitter, so maybe he's pumping those up to make it a reality.
We had
Jody, I don't know if you're trying to.
We had a poll this morning. So it was sentiment is split across the timeline. We want to hear from you. What happens next? So right now, bottom is in, up only 29%. Flat for the next 3 to 6 months is the winner at 41%. 58K gang family reunion at 23%. So a lot of people are feeling the 58K gang. And then the Bear Chat Victory Tour, 4.9%. Nobody wants to vote for the Bear. Feels like a vote in the wrong direction, even though it could be right.
Did you hear that? Because it was a little choppy for me. I wasn't sure if that was just on my end.
Yeah. It was going through the prediction for the different price action that we should expect coming up.
Yeah. How's the audio now?
Do it again, because it was a little choppy.
Yeah, so we're just looking at the sentiment checker. Go to the Daily Stack channel. We've been going through and asking people. 58K gang is 23% of people voted for that this morning as the outcome. So a lot of plebs following us. Question on the shirt, plebs on parade. What's the top Rage Against the Machine song for you personally, Rod? Bulls on parade.
Yeah, that's what was the inspiration for this shirt, Bulls on Parade. But yeah, that's my favorite. I think
It's hard to beat.
Guerrilla Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a big fan of Rage Against the Machine in the 90s and the early 2000s. And then the lead singer kind of got lame. So it's slay your heroes. And we do this in Bitcoin, right? We got to slay our heroes. And it's never truer if you had a really big, counterculture revolutionary hero from the music industry or from that era. Today, they're all kind of lame now.
I need to get into this. We had one of our guys in our fraternity in college had a Rage cover band called Bomb Track. So shout out Harris Cully if you're listening. It was so fun though, because but it would just end up being dudes raging in a mosh pit, like no girls. Nobody wanted to be even close to a Rage mosh pit. So it was like probably this dumbest idea to consistently have a Rage cover band play at our house, but plebs on parade.
That was just your excuse for not having chicks, dude.
Your neighbors must have loved you.
I do have to ask about what were your thoughts on Bad Bunny then? You thought it was too basic for the Super Bowl here? Or?
Well, my real opinion is that if you were offended, disgusted, inspired, blown away by either Bad Bunny or Kid Rock, you're either lying or you're insane. I think they were both. It was fine. It was fine. I didn't understand it. And I know I have friends who they speak fluent Spanish, and they said they didn't understand it either. But how many people are really paying attention to the halftime show anymore?
Yeah. No. Well, it was interesting. I had a few friends over. I try to stay pretty medium here on the podcast and can't share too much politically, but I definitely lean more conservative. And it was interesting to me to hear from some of my friends that are more liberal, that they were the ones that were actually like, this is disgusting. I can't hear anything. I don't understand what's going on. This is like an insult to America. And I was like, wait, what's going on right now? So it was, fascinating to watch, but we'll move past Bad Bunny and into Predyx. So I'm pulling this up real quick. We're talking about Predyx. For those that don't know, they are a great friend of ours of the pod, and everything is denominated in Bitcoin. So you bet in Bitcoin, you make predictions in Bitcoin, you can win in Bitcoin. And so it is fascinating. They got a section purely just on Bitcoin as well. So I saw one earlier, and I'm trying to pull this up now. But will Bitcoin reach 60,000? Here, it's pulling up here. 60,000 in 2026. So going back to the 58 conversation, it looks about 67% right now believe that. Where do you see Bitcoin heading? Is 2026, this coiling year where we start to see it kind of just continue either to go down? Are we hitting that 4-year cycle again? Would love your prediction on Predyx of where you'd probably place your bet and reasons why.
Well, if it's to 67%, that's the sign, right? That's the sign that it's going to happen. It's like all the means are lining up. 67% chance to go down to 60, which means we'll probably hit 58K. I think that's a pretty good prediction. I think that if you, unless you've been living under a rock, there's a lot of big announcements we love to talk about Dennis Porter. We miss his announcements. We wish he would come back, but there's going to be a lot of announcements made with or without Dennis Porter in 2026. I think that there's geopolitical tensions. There's a lot building up there. You've got, there's still, I don't think the Supreme Court is still ruled on the tariff, if those are going to continue to be constitutional. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I don't think that that uncertainty and that volatility is going to cause the price to be very bullish, at least not for the next 6 months. I think it's going to be a sideways price action. We probably test the downside a little bit more. And unless Trump comes in and fills up the strategic Bitcoin reserve with 1 million Bitcoin or something at 58K, I think that we're going to spend more time near 58K than near 100K.
Interesting. Which brings me to like my next question, right? We've been hearing about is silver and gold, and you know, the Peter Schiffs of the world are happy and finally, you know, pounding the table saying, I told you so. You know, we're looking at as Bitcoiners as these 4-year cycles, which many people thought it was not going to happen this time, but it does look like it's moving that direction. The Morningstar reported that gold's recovery to 5K is stymieing the Bitcoin rebound. We're down nearly 50% from the October high, while gold is sitting nearly at all-time highs. So how do you defend like that store value thesis? You know, I have friends now reaching out to me, you know, because I was talking shit when Bitcoin was flying. Now they're coming back to me, you know, saying, hey, Bitcoin's fake. Bitcoin's not real. Look at what's happening right now. Gold and silver are tangible. They are real. What do you say to my friends if you were in the room to defend us here?
Well, I can't completely discount what they're saying because the central banks are stacking up gold. For some reason, Tether, they betrayed us and they started stacking gold instead of Bitcoin. But I think one of the key points here is back to the uncertainty and a lot of the volatility, potential conflicts. People need, and there's been somewhat of a liquidity dry up. People need liquidity right now more than ever. They've got to pay for, missiles, bombs. They got to pay for defense mobilization. They got to pay for drones. They got to pay for their margin calls. The AI, we don't have to get into like, is the AI bubble or not, but like, okay, there is some of the businesses there, they need liquidity. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs liquidity, and Bitcoin is extremely liquid. It trades 24/7, and it's a lot easier to liquidate, a large volume of Bitcoin on Saturday night than it is, a stockpile of gold, even if it's paper gold. And I think until the liquidity situation gets a little bit more leveled out, or like it just stops being so chaotic, I think Bitcoin is probably going to struggle. I think it's going to struggle because of its strengths, and that might sound like cope, but I think there's some truth to it. And there is talk about the new like 24/7 being able to trade equities, like the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, 24/7. And if there's liquidity in those markets, if it's tokenized, I think that will probably alleviate some of the pressure on Bitcoin. But it's for until then, that's going to be a potential issue.
Yeah, it's one of the only markets that is liquid enough for large, institutions to trade, where they're not going to go dump a meme coin because they were never invested in a meme coin. It's like the only asset that's big enough that also trades 24/7. One that I felt on the side of liquidity that I think is super interesting, and let me pull it up here, is actually, first of all, got to give a shout out to our friend. Wait, let's take this down.
That was mine.
Yeah.
There it is.
21. This is our guy, our Claude bot. Claudius 21. We've been setting up. Made his first trade over the weekend. So on Predyx, he jumped in, made his first trade for the Seahawks, took him at like 59 or 60%, and did well. So he won, I think, 20,000 sats, like $20, maybe $15. So he's not a whale. He's a shrimp, technically a lobster, but almost a shrimp. And one thing that he took last night, and we're working on his trading. He's very much crawl, walk, run now to make sure we don't lose our shirts. One thing we took is Binance going insolvent by March 31st. I think this is free money. I think Binance is too embedded and they have way too much money hidden somewhere in some country. They're not, even if I think they're just not, maybe are they Singapore based, but they're like distributed, like decentralized and distributed. I think CZ is too tied into the government of like the US government now, you know, what's his name? Trump pardoned him. Like,
what's his name?
the president of the United States pardoned him. I think this is free money, not financial advice, anyone listening. But I think this is, as if we're going to chop along at 58K, don't trade Bitcoin. It's going to chop you out. It's not what we should do. Hold Bitcoin, hold your wealth. If you want to trade, I think this is why prediction markets are super interesting, is because you can talk about it and have fun and think about, okay, who's betting for Binance to go insolvent? What do they know?
Fun fact, this particular market on Predyx was set up at my request. I tweeted at the Predyx account and said, I think we need a market for Binance going insolvent by either the end of February or the end of March, because there's been whispers on social media, group chats especially, about the health of Binance, about the amount of volume being traded out of there, about the amount of Bitcoin that's being withdrawn. And as those whispers have started to grumble a little bit louder, the U.S. government has specifically stated that they are looking into what was going on Binance on October 10th last year, when we had all the cascading liquidations. I don't remember what we started at that day, but it was like 120 plus thousand. And I think wicked below 100,000 on some exchanges by the late afternoon. And ever since then, the market's been like very disjointed, a lot of unhealthy circumstances, a lot of liquidation that followed. And there's a lot of conspiracies have started to swirl around about what's going on at Binance, the timing, the who is responsible, and what who are they working for, and those kind of questions. Who knows what the truth is, and we may not find that out for a long time. But when those questions start swirling around and being so prevalent, it usually means like the best way to take away, I think, is where there's smoke, there's fire, and I think we're going to find out more. And I think more importantly, when we have these market events like we did last week, traders start to hunt for weakness. If people think there's weakness at Binance, if they think it might collapse, they're going to start testing that theory. And I think there are traders, there are enterprises, whatever you want to call it, out there who are maybe hunting for weakness.
Yeah. Am I trading against Rod, or is Claudius trading against Rod? This is what we need. We can't all agree. We embrace debate. I
took the yes. I think that they will. I think that they will go insolvent. So we might be trading together. I have no problem trading together with AI bots. They're not my enemy.
Yeah. No. We want. We're talking Predyx team. I think moving towards bots, I think is helpful, because it's going to be the future, and so much volume is going to come from that. I think besides this, what markets are interesting for you? Like, what do you find exciting? You know, that's like, like Kamini's going to get taken out of Iran. Okay, that's a popular market, but like people are also trading weather. Like, what do we know about like who's going to find alpha in that? Like, what does Rod Palmer have fun just like looking at?
Well, one of the things that I do and that I advocate for is for people to listen to 40 hours of Bitcoin podcasts per week, because that's how they stay in the know, and that's how they stay ahead of the rest of the, that's how you could be successful in prediction markets. The more podcasts you listen to, the more situations you monitor, the more likely you are to have success in, for lack of a better term, predicting the future. But I think it's more about seeing patterns that help you navigate the future. So a good example is the BIT 110, the pleb activated soft fork, which is scheduled to activate or not by September. And I think that market is interesting. Last I checked, it was below 20%. But I think this is why I'm a poly market pleb. This is why I'm so interested in Predyx and in prediction markets as a concept, is because right now there's nothing but noise on the timeline. There's nothing but pleb slop. There's nothing but lots and lots of breaking or just in announcements. And especially when you start getting into the quote unquote news about what's going on in the Middle East with Iran, there's so much fake news about mobilization. B-50, I've seen the same footage of a B-52 landing supposedly in Qatar like 5 days in a row. And it's like, they just a ton of repeat, and it's very difficult at a certain level if you've got a lot of money in the market to know what to do. But even you could come down to your small business, it might experience disruptions, and being able to look at prediction markets and see where people are actually putting down money on outcomes or the dates of outcomes or the result of a soft fork attempt is a good example. Even it helps you kind of cut through the noise and try to find a little signal, or at least get on the right track. So I think that this BIP 110 market is a good example, because if you are anxious about what this means for the future of Bitcoin, if you are worried about the implications of a soft fork or a chain split or a community, like a on-chain divorce or something like that. Well, if people really believe that BIP 110 is going to activate on by September 1st, you can buy dollars for, 18 cents right now. It's a huge opportunity, and there doesn't seem to be too many people willing to do that. And that tells you something. If nobody's willing to take easy money, or what they might believe, or what they would tell you they believe is easy money, well, it lets you know that maybe it's not as certain or as contentious as the headlines might make you believe. And you can extrapolate this out to any situation, whether it's war in Iran, war in the Middle East, war in Russia, presidential decisions, announcements, elections. You can use that because it costs more money to spoof those types of things than it does just to answer a poll that somebody calls you and asks you who you're voting for. You can say whoever you want. There's no cost to it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I found out Lady Gaga, something more lightweight, was going to perform. Someone put $47,000 on, the night before. And it's like, all right, who's betting that unless they have a friend that's working at the Super Bowl, right? So it is cool. And I like that they say, like, we want to encourage insider trading. A lot of these sites is showing that. I also saw like 70, I think it was like 70K plus that we were going to go into Iran last night, so one question I had, and maybe they just lost money. Do you think too far down the conspiracy rabbit hole, but is there a world in which the US government has unlimited money? They may want to like leverage these prediction markets as the source of truth for news. And they may say, we're not going to go bomb Iran when they actually are, vice versa, right? Like, is there some big whales out there that could leverage these for the fake news to like distract other governments, perhaps? I don't know if we're there quite yet, but at some point, maybe.
That's a totally legitimate question, because and this goes back to the topic a few minutes ago about how the Bitcoin price is going to move. And we're talking about the instant liquidity 24/7. One of the patterns, or like one of the trends of the past few years, is that big events like some country bombing another country, everybody waits until Friday after the market closes before they launch it, so to not cause the stock market to crash. But if you want to place your bet and you need a couple $1 million or a couple $100,000, maybe you don't get that information as an insider until after the market closed. So Bitcoin is another example, or is another tool that you can use to get liquidity to make predictions and insider trade, which is another strength that Bitcoin has. But, you know, I saw the poly market bet yesterday, and I thought it means one of two things. It means somebody inside, or I have one of three things actually. Somebody on the inside has information and they're going to make a profit. Two, somebody wanted people to think that and wanted to see the reaction of, well, how does Iran react anticipating an attack today by midnight? And so they're just spoofing it to test the defenses. And three, maybe they told somebody, maybe somebody on the inside, there's a few people who are like, well, we don't trust this person. We think they might be leaking information. Why don't we tell them that we're going tonight? And then, or you give people different information and see and see what happens on poly market, right? And start working back from there. Because if somebody was so confident to put that much money, maybe it's because somebody wanted them or was testing to see who would insider trade it.
That's interesting. Like back testing who's a snake in the government, you know, and leaking the information.
Find the rat.
Yeah. It
Exactly.
is fascinating. Go ahead.
And but it's like the prediction markets, a lot of people think of it as, some people think it's just degenerate gambling. Some people think it is a tool to kind of figure out information and see in what's going to happen in the near future. And, or maybe it's a counterintelligence tool to like smoke out moles and rats from the government. But you have to take all that into consideration when you're reading prediction markets to try to use it to make decisions. Because just like the timeline on social media, just like headlines in newspapers, there's a lot more at play than just simple binary information. And you can't read too much into any development, even on prediction markets. Although I think that prediction markets do reduce the amount of psyops, quote unquote, just because it costs a lot of money to move a market.
It does. Largest market on Predyx. I mean, it's a Bitcoin community, right? There was contentious, knots versus core. That took up a lot of conversation last year. Now it's settled down. It's very low likelihood on knots being implemented, or reduced data temporary soft fork being implemented. Now the big topic of conversation has been quantum and FUD, and I think I saw one of your tweets earlier about Nick Carter, and he's been really pushing the quantum narrative. Your fingers on the pulse of all things pleb, what people are talking about in Signals and Telegram and Discord and all these side chats. Is this just narrative shifting of okay, we're done with knots, we need something to talk about? Are you worried about quantum? Is that the next thing, or are we just going to find some new thing to argue about in the next month or two?
Oh man, quantum computer slop it's both annoying and it's funny to me, because it's quantum computing. I'm not even going to pretend like I really understand how quantum computing works or how close they are, what the mechanics are behind it. The people that I feel are the most trustworthy or the most legit, have the most to speak about it with the most authority, don't seem to worry about it, and they'll give you examples with how the numbers that it can factor. It can't. It could not factor a SHA-256. It's not even close to that. It's not even 10 years away, according to the people we talk to. And Reardon Code, Brandon Black, is a good. He speaks about this pretty well. Hunter Beast, who is the one of the co-authors of BIP 360. Now he co-wrote a BIP and for solving quantum risk on Bitcoin, and he's not like hysterical or anxious about it. He just thinks that it's something we should be ready for. However, when quantum computing and some kind of breakthrough happens, or a rumor that a breakthrough is nearer than people expect, when that starts to go viral or semi-viral, it's provocative, and it can be scary if you don't listen to 40 hours per week.
Minimum.
You can be scared by quantum computer FUD. If you listen to 40 hours per week, you understand the nuance, you understand more of the conversation. You've heard it all before, and it's not as scary, but it's what it is a very ripe opportunity for people to boost engagement, gain followers, command headlines attention. It's a great way to get attention and eyes on you, whether it's you are trying to be a quantum computer expert, you are trying to gain supporters, sell some other product in tangential to Bitcoin or crypto. And it's going to be great for politicians. Politicians are going, once they realize how effective quantum FUD is, not just on Bitcoin, but across all domains, they are absolutely going to leverage it to, create panels and boards and raise taxes and create more regulations and restrictions. Whether, depending on how you feel about climate change and like the climate's future, the way it has been exploited by politicians and governments to create all sorts of economic inefficiencies, raise taxes, subsidize certain industries that are closer with certain politicians than others, punish certain industries that are maybe the supporters of their opponents. Because climate, like quantum, is a risk that is far enough out on the horizon, but a serious enough risk that you have to plan for it. You have to be ready for it. But you can keep extending the what you're doing, because it's never going to happen next week or tomorrow. It's always 10 years down the road.
No, it was interesting because Davos is usually where they make all these announcements for climate change, and even Jamie Dimon was against it. Howard Lutnick went off on when he was at Davos talking about this and showing how much Larry Fink even said it. Larry Fink, who was behind it, was like, "Hey, we kind of fucked up, and that is not the direction." So, yeah, I mean, that is a great point that people are, can use this and leverage it. I always say too, like these hedge funds pay writers to, if they're going long something, they make write an article to short it. So you really have to pay attention ultimately, and know that does exist. Definitely in crypto, but.
And when people used to come out like Peter Schiff or whoever, and they would FUD Bitcoin, they say it's going to zero, people would often respond, well, why don't you just short it then? Yeah. And with quantum, that's not really the right answer, because if something's 5-10 years down the road, well, he's shorting it now. You're not going to pay that carry cost for a decade. It's not worth it. But if somebody comes out and says, oh, I'm very smart, I've been reading all the literature, I think that quantum computing might get to the point where it's a risk to Bitcoiners in the next actually 5 years. If somebody says that, my immediate answer is go to Predyx, start a market, say that quantum's going to break Bitcoin by 2030, place your bet. Otherwise, you're just talking out of your ass.
Before we play this game, I would like your take. We were talking about Binance potentially going under. So I'd be curious what that means for Bitcoin if that were to happen and they go insolvent. Probably even a bigger situation and story right now is with MSTR, with Strategy. If they were to have to sell their Bitcoin, what does that do to the market? And how far off do you think we are from either of these happening?
I don't think, and last cycle after FTX, the same MSTR MicroStrategy conversation came up. He was going to get liquidated. I think that the real risk in the MicroStrategy context is that shareholders are going to get wrecked, because they're going to have to, print a lot of shares to pay back the convert all the people who bought converts and all the equity that they're owed, whatever. And they're probably going to have to come up with some creative ways to compensate those individuals and those enterprises and institutions. It's probably going to be a bad day to just have standard MicroStrategy shares. I don't think they're going to have to, at least I haven't seen with the way the price is right now and what the prediction markets are saying about lows. I don't see them having to unwind and sell all that Bitcoin. Maybe a little bit. They might have to sell. But that doesn't worry me too much. Binance, on the other hand, short term, that can be pretty bad for the price. I mean, that could really wake it down pretty hard, and it would be a long climb back up unless they fill the strategic Bitcoin reserve after Binance goes down. And some people might say that's the plan.
Well, that was my question.
That's just silly speculation, right? Like nobody knows that for sure. But that it never let a good opportunity go to waste at the same time. But it would be bad. I think long term, it would be very healthy for the market, Bitcoin in general, to not have there's just a lot of manipulation and shady stuff that I don't think is really proven that goes on at Binance. But I think if you've been around long enough and you pay close enough attention, there's some stuff going on there that is, probably has a negative impact on the Bitcoin price, the sentiment, all that, especially based in Asia. So it'll probably just move to the next the next exchange or the next outfit. But Binance is a huge player and has been for a long time. They've got a lot of Bitcoin, and if that goes under, and it will, I guess I'm assuming they have any Bitcoin as it is right now. Maybe it's all smoke. But if they do have a lot of Bitcoin and they've got to unwind it, it's not great short term. Not great at all.
Yeah.
So Rod, you applied the mantra of applied podcasting. So 40 hours per week. Daily Stack's only giving you like 5 to 10. If Avi and I and Rob and Publius, we're really cranking out. Where do the other 30 hours come from? Like who is like S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier? If we're not seeing as much from Dennis Porter, like where do we get our content?
Well, the tiers, it's all subjective. But what we like to preach is you need to get entropy in your 40 hours per week. You need to get philosophy podcasts. You need to get macro podcasts. You need to get hot tech and, more technical podcasts. You need to go even get a little bit of astrology from like Aaron Redwing and Casey Rotemore on Hell Money. You need to get, branch out a little bit, listen to a comedy podcast once in a while, feature news podcasts like what you guys provide. There's a, Magic Internet Math is a podcast, Bitcoin adjacent, specifically about mathematics. There's so many topics out there, and you need to get enough entropy so you get it. And not only for the topics themselves, but entropy in terms of perspective of the podcaster. So you want to listen to podcasters from Europe, podcasters from the Global South, podcasters from the United States, podcasters from Canada, podcasters from Asia, because they're going to give you the perspective that they're seeing on their corner of the world on the ground, which you're probably not going to get very accurately from BBC, Fox News, MSNBC, or any of these corporate networks. You're then more likely to get it from the podcasters themselves.
Jody just cannibalizing our business over here. Nah, good answer though. I like that.
40 hours is a lot. You gotta cover the globe. Got to get all perspectives. You could even go back and watch some Dennis Porter's, look at the YouTube is evergreen,
going back and re-listening to bangers from the past counts towards your 40 hours. And also live streams like this right here. This definitely counts.
Let's rip the game, Jody. Real or Bugle? Let's pull this up. So as we pull this up, what is the Bugle? Refresh our listeners on what you've created. I made it same like the onion for Bitcoin, but I'm sure that's butchering it quite a bit.
Well, I'll be honest with you. We take exception to the comparison of the onion, or what people call us satire. People say we're funny. That's not our intention. We are a news organization. The fact that people find it funny just means that we live. That's just the nature of the world we live in. The headlines, it's a cloud world.
Mhm.
But what we are doing is credentialed journalism.
Well, let's get into it.
J Journos.
All right, we're playing a game called The Real or the Bugle, and we're gonna pull up some headlines, and you're gonna have to guess if it's a real headline or the Bugle. So, South Korea exchange Bithumb accidentally sends a total of 620,000 Bitcoin, about 43 billion, to 695 random users while trying to distribute loyalty rewards.
Am I supposed to guess? Because
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know this one is this is real. I remember I saw this one. They meant to pay out in the denomination of the local currency, but they accidentally paid out everybody in that amount of Bitcoin. Luckily this time, luckily for them, it was all paper Bitcoin because they didn't actually lose that much Bitcoin.
The paper Bitcoin economy. Look, there's no.
They expose themselves, right?
It doesn't matter if it's just paper Bitcoin.
All right, next one. Coinbase announces a partnership with Trump administration to launch Kitty Coin, which is probably with all the news going on, probably not the best one here. A new initiative to integrate Bitcoin Lightning payment into elementary school lunch programs. So they're giving $1,000 basically, right, to everyone. And my kid just missed the cutoff, which is annoying. But I believe they're funding $1,000 of the SPY, I believe, for all these young children that want to learn. I like it because I think it does teach people to learn to invest early on. But is this a Bugle article or is this real?
This is too funny to be fake.
The Diddy coin. It's way too close to
Kitty Coin and buying, pizza and chocolate milk with Lightning. That's the future. That's the future, and this is where it starts.
Well, you as the owner of the Bugle, maybe I am getting wrong information then, because it said it was a Bugle article when I threw that into Gemini. So really? Gemini's off our AI list now, I guess.
Well, actually, that may be true. It just wasn't one of the articles I wrote.
Fair enough. Joe, do you want to read this one?
The Department of Justice officially moves the 57 Bitcoin seized from the Samurai Wallet founders directly into the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, making DOJ one of the most successful forced hodlers in history.
Well, that's it. That sounds fake because I saw reporting from Frank Corva that they actually sold that Bitcoin against the the rules of the new Strategic Bitcoin Reserve executive order that any seized Bitcoin would actually go into the SVR, and I think I read that they sold it.
Interesting. That is big news then if they did, because that goes against the whole thesis, and that's not very bullish there. This one is real. And the irony, and maybe there's more information that we didn't get, but the irony of peak 2026, government is building its national wealth but maybe you have more breaking news than we do. I'll have to find that article if that is true, because that would be scary. And that was kind of my thesis, or not. I don't know if I fully believe it. I wouldn't put money behind it, but what if strategy gets eminent domain and they say from a national defense perspective, they need to take over the company? That is something to potentially keep an eye on. If that does happen, we'll replay this clip multiple times. All right. Canada's Conservative Party proposes a new law that would allow the next prime minister to be elected via a proof of work consensus mechanism, where voters must contribute hash power to the national grid to cast a ballot.
That sounds like some Bugle reporting.
That one is a Bugle reporting. Thanks for the sound effect, Jody. That was we're back, dude. That was good. That is the Bugle reporting. This is one of the Bugle's most popular posts from 2025, satirizing. Got to learn how to read the Bitcoin-friendly pivot of northern politicians. So I think that was the last one, actually. Yeah, that was the last one. Fun little game. We like to play a game on To wrap things up here with the Bugle, how do you like come up with this? Is this you're looking at real news and trying to create a?
He's a journo, man. He researches. He's on the ground with the plebs.
Touche. How long does it come up? How long does it take you to come up with these? And you guys sit in a room and kind of mastermind these, or?
What we do is we take in information from, like I said, our 40 hours of listening to podcasts, all the entropy around it. We take in the latest developments. We follow the news. We follow the prediction markets, and we try to write the news of tomorrow. So sometimes we get it right. Sometimes we get it wrong. And sometimes we get really, really close. And I got to tell you, it's never been harder to write these headlines and surprise, shock, or make people laugh. It's never been harder because, like I said, some of the stuff that you see from, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, wherever you get your news, it's too funny. It's too funny to be fake.
Yeah, it is. We're in amazing times, Jody. I don't know if you're pulling this up for this guest here or not, but
yeah, we have to. So, Rod. Last thing for me is the Bitcoin 1 million starter pack. What is the 2026 Bugle starter pack look like? Or what does the 2026 Pleb starter pack look like? What are the tropes?
Well, it depends on your Pleb track. If you're a privacy Pleb, you're going to need Graphene OS. If you're a politics pleb, you're going to need a quote about how excited you are to pay your taxes with Lightning. If you're a biased pleb, it's going to be, Bitcoin not only fixes your finances, it's going to fix your marriage. If you're a pleb slot addict type pleb, you're going to need way more trinkets. You're going to need all the different hardware wallets. You're going to need all the different swag.
Daily stack, and just fresh off the press. Avi showed it.
There you go.
You're going to need one of those.
If you want to be an El Salvador pleb, I see you got the flag there. Yeah. You're going to have to go. You're going to have to do the pilgrimage. You're going to have to go down to Bitcoin Beach. You're going to have to take the pictures. Yeah, I mean, you. Go check out the Bugle's Twitter or X timeline. Near the top will be the pleb thread, and figure out which pleb you are, and then that's going to be the track you're going to kind of follow, I think. And if you do that, you're going to fit right in, and you're going to get into all the best group chats, and you're going to get all the best alpha.
I love it. If you guys do not follow Rod Palmer at Rod Palmer Hodl, HODL, and follow the Bitcoin Bugle. That was fun, dude. You're hilarious, very intelligent too, which is great. This is hilarious with the pleb there as well. So thanks for coming on. We'll definitely have to have you back on at some point. And for those listening, we're going to take another quick 5-minute break. And then we're bringing on ProblemSniper. So for those that are more stock traders that are watching, we'll, of course, hit on Bitcoin, but many other stocks to kind of take a look at, see where the market is at today. So appreciate everyone popping on. Make sure to retweet. We will be giving away one of these hats and much more. So appreciate everyone, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Love it. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Yeah. Welcome back. There he is. We got our boy ProblemSniper. We are going to be talking options. Let's get this corrected. There we go. Talking some stocks today and taking a little break from the Bitcoin news, although maybe we'll get Bitcoin charts here at the end. How we feeling over there? I'm still freezing here in New York. You're in sunny Arizona. So
yeah, it's amazing. It's 77, man.
Oh my God. Yeah, no better way to get a podcast started than talking about the weather. Really exciting, riveting stuff. Jodes, how you feeling? We're 2 hours into this stream now.
I think any day that starts with me seeing a little message from Sniper and I'm taking weekly Micron options, MU, it's it gets your blood going. It's like more than the coffee. So like I know Avi's a big Micron fan. I think the need for memory is, yes, it's priced in many regards, but it's also been beaten up a little bit recently. And I think there's a lot of outside factors out there, but I'm excited to dive in and talk about it. So I am doing good.
Yeah, markets real quick, just an update for those that are at their 9 to 5. Why we do this podcast, to check it out. Looking a little flat across NASDAQ and S&P. Dow is up slightly right now, but relatively a flat market. I know there was some conversations of, I saw a poly market we were just talking about. Someone put 70 grand that we're going to war with Iran. There's a lot of like macro news as always. So we'll touch on that from a broader perspective. But anything quick macro before we dive into Micron?
Macro perspective, I think there's a lot of noise around, obviously. Poly market is so crazy. Like yesterday, I was reading an article where the guy who ran on the NFL Super Bowl, he bet 70 grand, and he made 70 grand on it, and he paid $1,000 fine, and he's done.
Wow.
He was the one who bet on it. So.
I know it's not.
Destiny is if you've ever seen it.
I'm surprised. I'd imagine next Super Bowl they're going to try to force some laws that against that for poly market, because it is crazy. It's the same guy. He actually did it. He did it. I don't know if it was the year before, but like maybe 2 years before. He's done this now twice. So, and he looked super happy as he was running on the field, knowing that he's about to make a nice paycheck on top of that. So, pretty funny. But Micron, let's chat a little bit about they've been kind of the stock of the year early on, the past at least few weeks. Sitting at, I was at 376 as of this recording. Huge beat on their earnings. Next one's going to be coming on March 19th. They're selling out left and right. There he is. I was about to say I can't talk about Micron for that long. So they've been selling out. They said they're like oversold right now. The business seems phenomenal. We've been using ChatGPT, a lot of Claude, and realizing how important memory is. And we're still early. Half my friends don't even use this stuff yet. So as this comes on more and more, they're going to need memory. But what are you seeing from the charts? And what are you're bullish still on Micron? Yeah.
I am bullish on Micron. I was reading some macro, macro cycles per se for memory. It's usually a 3 to 4 year cycle is what they were saying. But it's already been a couple of years. But usually the second to the third year transition is where you see tapering off on the memory cycle. But apparently, this is a research report from Bloomberg. They are not seeing any slowdown on the memory demand. So as per how I see it, like as this AI infrastructure overbuild grows, memory is going to be something that is very, very, very important, and Micron will keep growing in that aspect. Something to think about also, like there was this recent news around them not being selected for NVIDIA's new chips and things like that, but that is a very similar way of business, how this memory chip packaging and shipment goes. So Micron doing their first shipment packaging, I think it's completely acceptable, and I think Micron also knows that, NVIDIA also knows that, but they will be included in the next phases is how I see it, and that's when we'll see that incremental growth again on Micron going all the way to like 700-ish or something like that. Also, Micron has like this auto show that they're going to talk about tomorrow, where where yesterday, the article that I was reading, they were also talking about consumer sentiment, where it was going down on the lesser cars being bought, lesser phones being bought, lesser consumer products that are being bought. But you have to understand that Micron has stepped away from that consumer market space also, where they're like, there's so much demand, we just can't meet it. So we are focusing our products towards the the build out for the AI infrastructure per se. So it is what.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if they're so oversubscribed too. I've heard a lot of chatter of them raising prices inherently, right? There's supply and demand logic there that they would raise the prices.
600%.
I've seen Smarter Trader online talking about Micron, to 800, 1,000, so there's a lot of bullish news, overall. One question I have is we're starting to see this, it's been going on actually for the past probably a year or so. But people are getting away from software in general, right? And they're kind of, I don't know if they're going to be lumped in with that. People see the Mag 7, finally showing some weakness. Do you think they'll be lumped in, or are they part of that next phase of AI, NVIDIA, those new companies coming out?
The big companies will absolutely be fine. The big ones will absolutely be fine because, without CapEx, there's no acceleration in innovation. So once you see what most of the analysts on the streets have also been saying, yes, there is CapEx, but we have to see the growth aspect of this CapEx in next coming few quarters. And that's where we will be more bullish, or we will know more traction as to where things will land in the next few quarters, kind of thing. So I think most of the chips, they still have a huge runway to go, probably until 2028, as this AI infrastructure build out happens. People have been talking about overbuilding the infrastructure and things like that, but then these companies are not stupid, right? They know where the demand is going to be, where the surge in demand is going to happen, and they are getting prepared for all of that. So essentially, I think this demand stays till 2028 at least, in my opinion. But who knows? The market cycle is market cycle. So
yeah, we'll be touching on Amazon here shortly, but they're a big stock in my portfolio. They got hit. I've never seen them get hit like that. 10% down on their earnings because the headline was $200 billion in CapEx. And I'm on the same boat as you. I'm like, okay, great. That's like pennies, not pennies, but it's still like not a lot for a company that size. And they need it, right, for survival. We saw what happened with Blockbuster Video and Netflix, right? If they're not buying and looking towards the future. I wrote a tweet about this because I had a little help.
You get stagnated.
Say it again.
So I think we lost Avi.
Oh, I can see myself. Can you guys not see me?
I can see you.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's coming back.
All right, I'm back. No, what I was saying though is you look at the robotics and how much they're putting the money into robotics. That's the future. Even if these employees are making, I think, on average, like $38,000, $40,000, they have thousands of those employees, right?
Yep.
And so, from a human element, not like ideal seeing people lose jobs, but it is from an investor standpoint. You see that you don't have to pay vacation days, you don't have to pay benefits for robots. Unfortunately, reality is this is where it's going. We're seeing the same thing happen with AI. So Amazon is to me, it feels like an oil tanker. It's going to take a lot for that thing to continue to go down. And they've been flat though. I looked at the past 5 years and it's only up like 35 or something % over the past 5 years. So
I mean, it is how these big companies move. Like if you see Microsoft, if you see Google, Google, the same thing. It's been flat for like 4 years, then just ramped up like crazy, right? Same thing with like now NVIDIA is in the same boat. I think it'll just stay flat until their diversified investments show return in value in the next few years. So it is how these big companies move. It's the same thing with Apple that happened. Stayed flat for 2-3 years, and then there's a ramp up, then flat for 2-3 years, then there's a super cycle, and then flat for 2 years. It's the same thing again. Tesla, the same notion, where the market is in its head, in the short term, they still have to see where things land with respect to the investments that these companies are making. So is what it is.
Not sure if you have the chart up or if you could pull MU up
Yeah.
what we're looking from the options is the title of the podcast here. We'll pull that up real quick.
Yeah, so MU, this is an interesting chart. So this is like MU has been like it's down a little bit after that news that hit on the Nvidia stuff, but then they have this auto show that's going to come up, and I think they will talk about that demand per se, and if they guide up, it's going to be pretty huge in my opinion. I'm just looking at this upper trend line here, like once that 382 kind of level kind of breaks, there's a free way to almost 400 to 415 ish here on MU. So that's essentially what I'm looking at. But obviously, if it does break down, we have a breakdown all the way up to 352 to 337, where there was this consolidation that happened. So I would probably add onto like stocks, or like sell CSPs or something like that at 300 puts or something there to make up for whatever is happening. But right now, I know most of you will technical analysts will obviously say, "Oh, this is a bear this is a bear flag kind of thing." Yes, absolutely agree. Given that it's under the um, you know. 0.5 also on the fib, so that's a take that you can take. But if this trend line kind of breaks out higher at 382, I think it's going to ravage back a higher all the way up to 400 to 415 here on MU.
Yeah. Oracle, I think we wanted to touch on next. So Oracle, they've been in the news quite a bit. I mean, with the TikTok news, they're kind of running all of the different data with that run up, and then look, it's come right back down here. Where are you seeing it? Just hit the trend line for you?
So this is the long-term trend line. This is something that we talked about last week on the podcast too, and this is exactly where we hit like 138, and now we are at 165, 161 to 165. So once that 165 breaks, I think Oracle in the next 6 to 8 months can see somewhere around like the 240 250 range is what I'm thinking. Right now, definitely a very strong downtrend kind of chart. But let's see where it lands with the earnings. I think earnings run up can go all the way up to 182 to 189 here on Oracle, and then we'll have to figure out how their earnings go and see where their concentration in the market is. The biggest problem with Oracle and Microsoft is the whole street is kind of spooked by how how concentrated their future revenue is towards OpenAI. That's where I think there's that little bit of a mentality thing, I think, where they're like, oh, this is too risky, so I might have to de-risk my portfolio before OpenAI goes public, or like before we hear something else about contracts canceling on OpenAI or something like that. So I think that's where people are on the street with respect to Oracle, Microsoft, and how concentrated their future revenue is based off on OpenAI.
Yeah, they've it's like 300 billion, I think, partnership with them.
Yep.
And I was just looking up the news today. Actually, they just launched new role-based AI agents for their Fusion Cloud. So I'm still bullish on them long term. I mean, they're going to be like the home base for a lot of this data coming through. I don't think this is maybe somewhat of a bubble in terms of OpenAI. You're seeing like they're great for the week, and then the next week Gemini beats them. Then the next week Claude's the hot thing. But I just see them keep jumping and leapfrogging each other. And I think ultimately AI is here to stay. It's not just like a blip. Same thing happened with the .com boom, right? The internet is still here, very relevant. The Amazons, the Googles came out of it. So I think we're seeing something similar kind of happen in this front. But
yeah, the winners will always be winners. Like, you just have to pick and choose which ones are going to survive. And Oracle is a big company, a great relational database, very much useful for AI training. So I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, they are one of the when I worked in tech, it was always like, you don't want to be 50-year-old sales rep over at Oracle. And that was kind of like the thing. And now look, they're innovating. They're starting to refresh and get younger here. at least for their business perspective. So,
Yep.
Very cool. What do we had next? We had wanted to touch on Tesla, I think was next. To go
Tesla?
to our
Sure.
yeah, Tesla's another one of my. This is not me just trying to pump my bags here, but Tesla is another stock that I do own for full transparency, and probably a good time to say none of this is financial advice. Jody, if you want to hit that fun pop up, but this is all for entertainment and research purposes only, education.
So Tesla, I think there is a run to 500 coming up soon. I'm pretty sure there is. It's again, the stock has been consolidating since September last year. Just sideways movement all the way. I just read there was a news around the House passing the bill on self-drive act or something like that, where they will be creating rules around it, and people are like kind of bullish about it. So we saw that intraday, pop on Tesla. I think there you can see that on a 5-minute chart. Here there was that here there was that huge pop on Tesla when that news came out. But looking at this daily time frame, obviously this is a very clean trend line that it's trying to break, and I'm looking for that 430 to be reclaimed, and then you have 444, 464, and much higher towards 500. This is a very clean trend line too, so I'm definitely keeping Tesla on watch right now for options play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tesla, we've talked about this ad nauseum here, but they aren't a car company anymore. Nope. And they've never really been a car company. They're an energy company, they're an AI company. They're coming out with the robo taxis now. I think in April they're going to be live, and they're already starting to do some of that in Austin, Texas. So not sure if anyone listening lives in Austin has taken one, but throw a comment up and let us know what that was like. But it is interesting to see. You see this convergence, right? And think about where they can go with this too, with ads. You put a TV screen in the back of these cabs, and all of a sudden you have a whole industry of ads that you can reach and tap into as well. But the biggest news, obviously, is their robots that are coming out. They've focused in. I don't know if that was because the car sales for what was the 2 cars that they're deprecating?
S and X.
As an
They're
X,
not
right?
deprecating it. They said there'll still be production, but then they'll use the the channels, like the production lines for the robot. So
yeah,
Optimus. So I think it's a good pivot because I mean I'm a lot of people complain about the quality of the Tesla cars, but then the longevity of these cars is pretty insane. Like I mean I own a Tesla car since 2018. So and I'm a very rough driver. I've not spent much on the car. They are built to last. So it is what it is. Like you'll have different theories in the market, but mine was great experience. So it is obvious that there is a little bit of a slump because people are just not buying new cars, and like the people who love Tesla are still driving their Tesla that they bought initially. So it makes sense to make that pivot too. So we'll have to see how Tesla can execute on this robotics portion of it. Yep.
The sell that will be my my next car purchase. Honestly, when I drove one when I was in Minnesota for the summer, and rented one for 10 days, and it was driving with full like the self-driving.
Yeah,
you don't want to go back. Like once you've done it, you're like, oh, cool. You're not supposed to.
Avi, mine is a hardware 3.
But like
mine is a hardware 3 also. The Tesla that I own is a hardware 3. It works great. It does it self-driving.
It is incredible. But I agree. I think the future is, and I actually wrote this in my fraternity. If anyone goes to Indiana, checks out API. I wrote one day we're gonna like laugh and look back and say how crazy it is that we had car accidents. And if you do, who was the insurance company that just did something with Tesla self-driving, and they ran millions of miles, and they saw that Tesla was like by far self-driving is way safer than humans behind the wheel, right?
Yeah.
So I think we'll be able to see that. It's going to still take some time. The government moves very, very slow, but I think Trump and Elon are still friendly despite the public disputes, and so maybe we have a good administration for Tesla. But it is interesting. Jodes, you've been silent over there. Any additional commentary here on Tesla?
I'm bullish Tesla. I want them to figure out a good SUV that's not like a full size SUV. I think the Rivian, which I know you also love Rivian.
Yeah.
I think they've done a phenomenal job. I think is the R1. I think it's a beautiful car. Neighbor has one. But
I saw Lucid just posted an SUV too.
Really?
For the CCIV old school when that was a SPAC for those listening. That was crazy. They misprint on Bloomberg and it just dropped the one SPAC that was like crushing it. Dropped for a second. But Lucid, those cars are beautiful. I went to one in New York City. They had a pretty cool display and you can walk into them and it's pretty cool.
Right,
go ahead, Judge.
So 80 grand. It's called the Gravity. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, the Lucid new car. Yeah.
All right, Reuters, you're not looking good. I know your stock dropped after the latest Claude legal model came out. So website to run a little bit faster. I agree. That looks good. I want Tesla to come up with something like that. I think that the Cybertruck's not, catches headlines, but it's not for everyone. Beyond that, yeah, I think I'm excited too about. I'm still in oil. I think for like March to May calls on like Chevron, those have been doing well. I still think that's going to be relevant and perform well. We'll see. I think that the noise has died off certainly with Venezuela. The heavy crude, are they going to process it? Is that even going to be a factor in the markets? The oil reserves and what they have. But then once that lulls down, then you have something like an Iran event will happen. And then suddenly there's going to be some crazy spike, probably a good time to sell, during that panic. So I think it's smart to play oil either way while it's quiet right now. I don't know, Sniper, if you look at any of those stocks to the upside or downside.
No, I don't look at much oil other than XOM, but I've been seeing some heavy call selling on XOM, so I was like, I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, fair.
Trying to find this chart that I saw, just showing international growth. I mean, international has been crushing it with rates coming down. Potentially IWM is another one we were talking about with the Russell 2000. The smaller companies usually lead the pack. Before the big wave comes with the bigger stocks, but you're bullish IWM, I believe.
This is like very clean patterns on IWM. Like, look at these falling wedges, right? Like one falling wedge, shoot up, then again a falling wedge, shoot up, and now another falling wedge. Then we are going to shoot up again. I mean, we are going to 272 pretty soon, and it's been showing a lot of relative strength also. And after that, you have like 280 pop up here pretty fast once that 272 breaks. I think probably by April or so, I am thinking that I did see quite a bit of bullish flow on IWM into April. So we'll have to see what happens there.
Mm-hmm. I see Microsoft on the screen. That was another one that got hit during earnings. What are you seeing with Microsoft? Because it feels like, I was one of my best tweets of all time was, don't you just wish you could just buy Microsoft stock and go to sleep for 5 years? And sure enough, after that tweet, it just ripped, for the next 5 years, basically. It was right around there before it started just flying. Now we've come back,
Microsoft, I think this is exactly what we talked about last week too. Again, this is the trend line. We are like somewhere around the 390 to 389 zone is where we are hitting it, and now we are like bouncing off that back to like around 420. Probably like it will stay around this range for some time. You see that there's a lot of consolidation back and forth, like traders, investors trying to figure out the value around OpenAI and things like that, I believe. So I think it'll stay here, graze this trend line for a bit before it kind of bounces back to its all-time highs at some point again. I can't give you a time frame where we'll see 550-ish again, but I think it'll graze here for some time before it like has that run up towards like 460 to 480-ish on the this year.
Mm-hmm. Being a Bitcoin first show, we gotta bring up Bitcoin. So we talked about this actually on the last guest we had, where there's just a lot of outflows happening, right? I think it is the gift and the curse of Bitcoin that it is the most liquid asset. So people can sell that off first before they can do real estate, anything else that's very, hard to move very quickly. What are the charts showing us here? Because it's felt like negative news kind of across the board for Bitcoin. It's not as exciting. There's AI in the news. There's war with Iran in the news. There was Venezuela in the news for a day, then completely went away, Jody, which I find fascinating that no one's talking about Venezuela again. But Bitcoin specifically, we've been negative Nancy here the past couple months.
Yeah, I mean, looking at just the weekly chart, like when things are like trickling down, I'm always looking at this weekly charts because you would know where you would have those dead cat bounces where you shouldn't be going short, or where you might want to book your short positions off and things like that. Obviously, there's a lot of consolidation that happened in 2024 here around these levels in Bitcoin before it ramped up fast, higher and higher. So. I mean, this is where you would see a lot of support, obviously, from 68 to all the way up to like the lower end of this goes down to around 55, and then you have this longer term trend line, which is, I think this is a glitch here. Like I don't know why we have that glitch. Many charts show this, but like it touched that trend line. Never saw the price there, but I see that. I don't know why that happened, but if we do drop, I think 59 to 60ish is the next buy area here on Bitcoin. Obviously, this is a good support area. Don't get me wrong, but if we do see a drop or like an Iran news or anything like that happens on Bitcoin, I think 55 to 59 is a good area. This long-term trend line will help you. Just like how Netflix, Microsoft, and all these other companies are hitting their long-term trend lines, Bitcoin can probably hit there, but that's where I would average down on my Bitcoin.
That's two guests in a row now saying 58. It's right in that range. 58. I didn't even know this was a meme. I should probably know that, but 58 is a meme going around the internet saying that's where we're going to land. So usually the memes become the truth nowadays. Joe, is any other stocks you're looking at here?
Yeah, well, I want to pull up this as well. Let me pull this up. On the Predyx, we were going through on the prediction market side, specifically for Bitcoin 95K in February, aligning with what we talked about, I think last week, is February doesn't look good for you to Bitcoin. Short month doesn't seem like we're really going to make the moves back, but March you're more optimistic going into just I mean, I guess let me put that back to you. What makes you, without ceding your answer, what makes you more optimistic about performance by March?
I have no answer for that. Like, I mean, there's no macro news. There's Trump has not been talking about Bitcoin as much as he used to, and. There's nothing in my view that's coming up on Bitcoin which says, oh, you know what, Bitcoin is going to go up right now in Feb or March. Obviously, there is this market cycle. I understand Bitcoin always drops. Like usually, like S&P drops like 20-25%. You're like saying you're in a bear market, but the same thing is like 40% for Bitcoin, right? 40-45%. That's a general move on Bitcoin, and then it kind of ravages back up, and we are hitting that zone right now. So once we hit that oversold on RSI and things like that, that's probably something that I'll be looking at. But right now, on the macro scale or on a general sense, I don't have anything to talk about Bitcoin as, oh, you know what, Bitcoin is going to go up in the near future.
Yeah. So this week we got tomorrow actually the double header of CPI and the jobs report tomorrow morning.
No, it's on Friday, Avi.
Oh, Friday.
Yeah, I know.
Gemini is off the rack. They're done. They're sold
I was looking at StockTwits too. Like they had it on Wednesday. I was like,
oh, moved. Okay.
Tomorrow, and then I had to re-verify it, and I saw that it was on Friday.
Well, then we for Friday, let's go to there. For Friday, we talked about this on Pound the Table all the time, where like jobs reports, people don't care as much. They always revise it as well, a couple months later, it feels like. So how much, do you put it into this event coming up now on Friday for the impact on the overall market? I mean, this could, it kind of the make or break. Is inflation dead? Is it still alive? Will this impact, the Fed meeting? I think in March is the next one too. So this usually is indicative of where they go. They look at this stuff. So where do you think we land there?
So in my opinion, until we have the new Fed chair coming in and looking at what he says and talks about, most of the data is kind of irrelevant. Because Powell is going to go out pretty soon, and that's how I'm seeing it. I think most of the data is irrelevant until have the new Fed chair come in, because most of what the Fed does in the next few months is also kind of irrelevant, because Trump just disregards or has talked about it quite a bit about, Powell is going to go out, and once he's out, I'll have a policymaker who is more aligned with how I think, kind of thing, right? So I think most of the data that we see is going to be irrelevant. But one thing that I think the street will always look for is how are the tariffs going to impact the inflation. We have been told that it is going to be a one-time impact back in November, October timeframe. So I don't know. We'll have to see where CPI lands there.
With something like the Super Bowl on Sunday, and there's like a little bit of political divide of like, hey, here's this halftime show, it's all in Spanish. Then you have this turning point event with like Kid Rock, and it's controversial. Do you think people are looking at the situation and seeing political divide and seeing what we've talked about, a blue wave coming back in the midterms, or because it's so evident and we're not surprised by it, that the market might see it as, we already know this is an issue, and Trump already knows this is an issue, that political favor is going to swing against him. He's going to go ahead and do whatever he can to pump the market, to do favorable, to not do restrictive tariffs that might crash the market. Do you think people are looking ahead to say Trump already, and the administration already knows this is probably a problem come November, come later this year, and the market sees it as bullish because they're probably going to take action?
I mean, irrespective of what happens in the midterms, I think going into the midterms, there's an uncertainty which the market will not like. So that's the simplest way I can think about it. And what Trump is going to do is only he knows. I think he's so unpredictable at times. So
or doesn't. he might just do it on the whim. He did say, the headline that I first read was that he got some police activity behind me now. He was saying that he made a mistake by not picking Kevin Warsh the first time. So that feels bullish that he's in his ear enough. They are supposed to stay separate, but as we've seen the past few, it feels like they're getting whispered in the ears, or kicked behind closed doors to make some moves here. So I agree with Jody in a sense of, usually when there is a split, if there's Republicans in the Senate and as president, but the House turns it into Democrat, markets usually like that. Actually, it's less fast stability, that they can't change things, right? And so that could be bullish if it looks like a landslide victory, which a lot of people are thinking of. But you never know. I mean, people thought it would be a landslide for Hillary. A lot of Republicans are quiet about it too, right? So it's like the silent majority they talk about. So you never really know. But it is coming up here shortly, and markets are usually 6 months ahead. So it's right about around this timeline here.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's an interesting time. So
yeah. What else are you looking at? Anything major in the markets? Anything you're very bullish on? Are you still with Rivian? Was one that you mentioned a while back.
Rivian. I'm still bullish on Rivian. I mean, it's all about how they execute their R2 and how they go about with their their self-driving tech, and how are they going to incorporate that into delivery vans and things, and we'll have to see how that goes. Other than that, I think
what would it take for you to buy a Rivian as your next car? Like, what would it take to convince you to go from Tesla?
Oh yeah, maybe
Thank
if I make a good killing on Rivian stock, yeah.
That is when you bought your Tesla, which makes sense.
I made a killing on Tesla stock, so I bought a Tesla car. So
I love it. I love it. Well, we'll keep this week shorter. Next week, I promise I'll come back with a mini monster, which I promised I would do. So mini monsters are small stocks, keep an eye on, don't necessarily buy them. But we've had some good luck finding the mini monsters coming up.
One mini monster, I think it might have been you or someone that you mentioned, Avi. VPG.
It was him.
Yeah,
it was him. Yeah.
That was from Penny Check. I got to give Penny Check on Twitter. He's awesome. So I give him credit for that. But I follow him
somewhat well since we got in on that. I think it's
like up 115, 120% on the stock just in a year. So
I'll take partial credit for bringing it to the masses, but Penny Check gets the love there for sure. So for those that stuck with us, 3 hours potting today. So I'm exhausted. I'm ready for my afternoon coffee, but everyone check out us tomorrow. We'll be back with the Daily Stack, talking a little more AI markets. We're going broader than Bitcoin now, which is exciting. So everyone appreciate it. Follow ProblemSniper on Twitter. He is one of the best options traders I've found, and I've been following people for far too long on Twitter, and you've been the most consistent, I'd say, that I follow. But appreciate it, everyone. Thank you for coming. Big shout out to our sponsors over at Arch Lending and Rhino Bitcoin, as well as many of the other ones below, as you see. So thanks again. We'll be back tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you.
We're out.
Bye.